And you are listening to episode 37, SCW, the wrestling podcast. Hi, my name is Steve. It's SCW. It's youtube.com. You're listening right now to us. And I'm joined in a hot seat by George Jones. George, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great, mate. How about yourself, Steve?
Yeah, I'm feeling very good. You know, it's good to be back in a hot seat. It's good to be doing a podcast, especially with yourself as well. We get to talk about pro wrestling and we get to do our thing like we usually do. It's been a little while since I've been in this hot seat, so really relishing the idea of being back here. So just quickly to tell people, like, share, subscribe right now if you haven't already. Leave the comments in the comment section. We'd like to know your thoughts. If you like it, if you don't, tell me right now because I want to know in the comments below. Today on this particular episode 37, got a big announcement that we are going to make because we might have a little partnership going forward. So we're going to be getting straight into that to the start of the show. Going to be giving a little bit about this channel as well. And as well as that, if we have a little bit of time, we're going to talk WWE also. So plenty to dive into. Let's not waste any time getting straight into it. George Jones, shall we give that announcement to go straight ahead? George, do you want to break the news?
Yeah, we've had some really, really positive news in the last week. Over the last week, you've noticed quite a lot of activity, particularly on our page and particularly on the internet generally. The SCW Wrestling Podcast is going to be joining with none other than Limited Edition Pro Wrestling. Over the last few months, we've interviewed quite a few of their wrestlers, talents, and the fantastic, obviously, wrestlers and stuff. And we're now going to be doing a partnership with them in terms of we are regularly going to have them on our show in terms of for interviews, all the latest news and rumours for the Federation. Clearly, it's one of the most up-and-coming promotions in the Southwest. I think they go from strength to strength, and they've got some fantastic wrestlers on there. It's a really exciting move, though, for both the SCW Wrestling Podcast and Limited Edition Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's really exciting because, of course, I mean, like you said, the likes of Jason King, we've had Danny Walsh, we've had also Mad Dog, Vincent Andrews on there as well. So all those podcasts are available now to listen to. In fact, what I'll do is I will actually put the links of all three of those in the description. So if you haven't heard them already, then they are interviewed by George. So make sure to check them out right now. The links will be in the description of this video. So very exciting news. I'm very happy that we're going to be a part of this and hopefully lining up. There's going to be an interview. Obviously, we've not got the confirmed guest yet, but hopefully coming up for some of their upcoming dates as well. We're hoping to have a podcast coming up very shortly, don't we, George?
That's correct. We are hoping to have a guest within the coming weeks of another one of the fantastic wrestlers. And as always, with these shoot interviews, they're always very informative. You always learn a lot, don't you? You always learn a lot more about the business once these interviews are done than before it started.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, you learn about the character, you learn about what got them into the business, a lot of their idols, and you get to learn the experiences of how they were trained, who they were trained by, and, what keeps them going today. And personally, for me, I think they've been all very exciting podcasts. I've enjoyed every single one of them. I want to take this opportunity, by the way, because I've not had the chance to personally thank the guys for coming on. So a big shout out and thank you to Jason King, to Mad Dog, Vincent Andrews, and to Danny Walsh, all being a part of this. And, of course, hopefully we look forward to having many more limited edition pro wrestlers on here as well. So very exciting stuff. But George, just give them a little bit of what people can know about. I mean, of course, they've got a wrestling academy as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, the Wrestling Academy is based out of Torquay, and it's a fantastic training centre for the up-and-coming talents in Southwest Wrestling. It's obviously the training is led by such people as Danny Walsh, which is an ex-multiple world champion in the Southwest, and also he's wrestled all over the country. As we heard in our shoot interview, the training is also led by such other wrestlers as the current heavyweight champion, Luke Phoenix, and he's a fantastic wrestler. I think he was out of the game for a while, but he's now come back into it, and he's just a fantastic talent. He's the current champion, and also clearly the amount of experience you would get going to this, the training is very affordable, and I think it's a fantastic start if you want to get into the wrestling business.
Certainly is. I mean, of course, UK wrestling, the scene seems to be growing again. I mean, a lot of people seem to be very interesting. It doesn't have to be just the marks of WWE and TNA. A lot of independent wrestling seems to have taken shape, and you can really clearly see that with a lot of interest that's been put into limited edition pro wrestling. I mean, a lot of people have actually tuned in and viewed the podcasts that we've done, and we're really thankful for those people who have taken that time. And if you want to like a limited edition pro wrestling, just go to Facebook now, top of the search engine. All you got to type in is LEP Promotions Wrestling. Just go hit a like on that page right now and keep up to date with all of the stuff that's going on with such an exciting promotion. In fact, George, maybe you can tell us more of the upcoming dates of the shows that are going on and the times and the prices that people can maybe look into if they want to go and see the shows, what they're going to have to pay out.
Yes, so if you did want to join the Academy, monthly membership starts at a reasonable £30 a month. You could get private one-to-one lessons from such experienced wrestlers as Danny Walsh at £20 an hour. The sessions generally run adults 6 to 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. This is in Torquay, by the way, at the Academy. Sessions also run on a Wednesday, which are kids sessions between 6:30 and 8:30. And then Thursday, there's another adult session, 6:30 to 8:30. Obviously, one-to-ones can also be booked on request, if that makes sense. If you want any further details, people that are listening, just check out their fantastic website, www.lepwrestling.co.uk. In terms of their upcoming shows, we have got a fantastic show coming up. The show that's coming up is in Saltash, and that'll be taking place on December the 11th, which is going to be a fantastic show. Some of the matches that have been announced already, I'm quite excited for. And there clearly is going to be a fantastic World Heavyweight title match between Dave Fury and Luke Phoenix, and I think that match could be really, really good. I really don't know which way it's going to go. Clearly, you've got Phoenix coming into the match following his shock win over Danny Walsh previously, which really, really surprised everybody. I'm hoping sort of that this match clearly can deliver another fantastic counter, which I'm pretty sure it will. We've also got some other fantastic matches. We've also got a number one contendership match for the Academy title belt, and that's going to be none other than Mr. Jago returning basically from the firm. He hasn't been seen in many months, which is a bit strange, but he's going to be coming back, and he's going to be facing none other than Blake Harrison. Blake Harrison, very up and coming, very fantastic wrestler. He's got a really good look about him. He's 6'5". This guy's very dark. He's very, very quiet, which is a bit strange. And then we've also got another match of an epic proportion. We've got familiar faces from the show. Vincent the Mad Dog Andrews facing none other than God Danny Walsh. Danny Walsh, since his recent losses, has gone off the rails a bit. He's been a bit strange. He's now found himself as God. And this match, I think, is going to be a real crowd pleaser. I think it's really hard to tell which way this is going to go, because clearly, obviously, you've got Danny coming off, trying to obviously get back his momentum since losing the title, and you've got Vincent. The only trouble I think Vincent might have is he's continuing having this issue with a stable known as Dead Man's Hand, which clearly at the moment, for anybody that wants to know that, we're going to give them a bit more details about Dead Man's Hand later in the show.
Yeah, well, I mean, so a substantial card there, and 3 matches then. I'm sure there'll be many more matches added as it gets towards the date as well. And I mean, you touched there on Dead Man's Hand. Let's go further into it. I mean, this is like the most exciting storyline going on right now, arguably in LEP right now. So tell us a bit more about it, because it seems to be kind of a mysterious group that no one seems to know their identity.
Yeah, as you're aware, Steve, during my interview with Vincent the Mad Dog Andrews, unfortunately they left a message. They interrupted that interview. They're a very, very strange group, very, very weird. A lot of things they do quite weird. They're on social media. You can search their page at Dead Man's Hand on Facebook, and they're leaving a lot of cryptic messages. And the weird thing about these guys is they literally just come to the ring via the main entrance of the building. They don't come through the R-way. They attack whoever they're going to attack, and then they just leave. Nobody knows who they are. They could be anything between 3 to 6 people, but they have got a habit recently of attacking Vincent the Mad Dog Andrews, and at the last few shows, he's the one that's been sort of getting a massively attacked by these people. I think really what's weird about these guys is you've got almost a leader, and this leader, no one knows who he is, and he clearly almost directs these people like puppets, and they almost sort of follow whatever he says. He wields a baseball bat around as well. It's really, really odd, this angle. I'm really not too sure sort of where this is going to go or how they're going to go. It's a real good mystery, and I think I'm intrigued to see what they do at the Saltash show, because they seem to have a massive involvement. They can potentially interrupt any of the matches we've said tonight. Yeah,
I mean, you make a few good points there, George. I mean, going for a fan favourite like Vincent Andrews, for example, I mean, clearly this shows what heel stable they are, and they're not just going for some people in the undercard either. They're going for the people at the top of the card. They're making their dominance quite shown, like you say, and they're not just pointing towards the leader. They're talking a lot about this leader as well, and there's no sign of what it is. But I mean, are we suggesting this could be like a higher power?
Potentially. I think if it is a bit strange how sort of they come on the scene. Obviously with no mention. Clearly for months and months they were trolling. They were sort of mentioning they were coming on Facebook. They then turned up. They turned up at the first time they ever turned up. 6 of them turned up and attacked 2 wrestlers. Attacked young Jamie Perrin, and also attacked the Rocker, John Harding, as well. And the way these guys attack people, there's no remorse. There's almost like sort of these people, you don't want to mess with them. They're a bit scary, so to speak.
So, I mean, of course, obviously, they're not revealing their entity. I mean, how are they dressed? How do they look for people to give it a clear vision of what they look like at home?
So what they do, they wear very dark colours, and they are masked. Clearly, they are masked, so you don't know who they are. The only way that we are sort of identifying potentially what we believe is a leader is he's got a baseball bat, and he sort of like almost tells them where to go. He's almost pointing them out. The thing is, these guys, when they come to the show, they don't speak, they don't do anything. They sort of intimidate the crowd as they come down the R-way. They attack wrestlers, then they leave, and then nobody knows who they are. The problem is, their latest message on Facebook means basically it's an open. It could be anybody. So whoever's at the LEP show, Saltash, any wrestlers, I think they should watch their back. It's going to be quite scary.
Really does seem like they are going to have to keep an eye out, certainly, because these guys can turn up at any point and make some sort of impact. But I mean, could we get a revealing anytime soon? We have to be, have to keep tuned and see what's going to happen. But one thing is for sure, that when it comes to this angle, we will be keeping up to date with it here on this YouTube channel. So if you want to know everything about Dead Man's Hand, whether it's LEP, then this is the place to be. SCW, the wrestling channel here on youtube.com, which is via SCW, the wrestling podcast. Of course, we have our Facebook page as well that I should tell you about as well. Go to the top of that search engine, type in SCW, the wrestling podcast. You can hit a like on that right now because, of course, we put all the podcasts on there as well. You can go through the archives of what's been there previously, and as well as that also, all the YouTube sort of videos when they are posted, whether it's regards of, all wrestling companies that are discussed at the time, they go on that channel as well. So that's a good place to keep up to date with everything if you're not subscribed or have yourself your own YouTube channel to make that subscription. So it's a good way to check everything out. And George, is there anything more that you'd like to touch on with LEP before we move on?
I think we've got to ask one last $1 million question. A big shout out now on where are they? Nobody's heard from Jason Kidd since unfortunately he lost the belt. It's a bit weird how I tried to reach out earlier this week to Jason Kidd's publicist and I've heard nothing. Very, very odd. There's a very big weird mystery going on with Jason Kidd as well. But no, anybody that hasn't seen LEP, I recommend to go out and check the show out. It's a fantastic in-ring action. Some of the best independent wrestling you are going to see probably in the country. It's just fantastic at the moment. Really good promotion.
Certainly. Very exciting stuff indeed, and we will be talking, as say, much more about LEP as we go through. But quickly then, just to tell people about the YouTube channel, if it's the first time. I mean, we've got maybe a lot of LEP, listeners or viewers for the first time, probably wondering, well, what's this channel all about? So it's probably a good time to do that. If you are already subscribed to SCW, then maybe you might want to skip the next 5 minutes or so. But just to let you know, probably not 5 minutes, but just look at it. We talk about professional wrestling on here. It's a great place to keep up to date with WWE, TNA, Lucha Underground, ROH, WCPW, and of course LEP, our partnership right now. It's a good place to keep up to date with all wrestling news, rumors, opinions. Of course, I like to be creative as well, give a bit of creative ideas on the channel also. And of course, George, you're here a lot as well with your podcast work as well, so it's good to have us both doing our bit for SCW. So make sure that if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Later this week as well, that you can look forward to seeing is an interview that I did previously with Ricky Sycamore, who of course we like to call Mr. WrestleMania. He's been to multiple WrestleManias, and of course tickets recently came out for WrestleMania 33, so we're going to bring that interview of what it's like to go to a WrestleMania on youtube.com, so you can see the experience that he went through in Dallas, Texas. And of course, if you are thinking about going to WrestleMania 33, that is definitely the podcast for you, because you will see and learn a lot about WrestleMania. And if I'm being brutally honest, George, I've never been to a WrestleMania. It made me really want to go to one, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to go to WrestleMania 33, but for anybody who does, I think you're in for a great experience when it comes to Orlando, Florida. Of course, later in the week as well, I will be providing TLC preview and predictions. George, maybe we'll be able to get yours as well at some point, and we can bring that as well onto youtube.com. It's always good to have your input as well, what you think about what's going to happen to TLC, maybe if not on the Facebook page. But in the meantime, we will talk about WWE for the meantime, George, and I'd first off like to get your view on the current product. I mean, you seem to have a little bit of a negative feel when we've talked about before with storylines. Do you still feel this is the case?
Yeah, I'm really, really not too happy with current WWE product. Although the in-ring action is fantastic at the moment, doesn't seem to be any long-term planning of storylines. Clearly, the only thing they seem to have going at the moment, which they're working on, is the Goldberg Lesnar program, which clearly we've seen that twice. I think obviously this is building to a WrestleMania match again, which you're looking at sort of WWE in the old times used to have a long-term storyline. At the moment, WWE at the moment, the shows are just going show to show. It's almost like there's nothing really seem to be going on in the background, largely, from what I've observed.
No, okay, fair play. But what did you think of Goldberg and Lesnar? I mean, of course, that technically has left an imprint. I mean, of course, it did bring a lot of debate. I mean, Goldberg winning in 1 minute 26 seconds against Brock Lesnar. I mean, nobody saw that coming. Perhaps a lot of people felt robbed on pay-per-view, of course, spending that money out to then see it and then think, well, hang on, this match was the reason we tuned in. I mean, it's probably brought quite a lot of outside viewership in to see a 1 minute 26 second match. I mean, does that make you intrigued to want to see the next match, or do you feel that it made Lesnar look weak? What did it make you feel?
I think if I could turn away sort of and ignore the fact that Lesnar took the Undertaker streak away from him, then I think I could sort of accept it. But the fact that they just had Goldberg go over so cleanly when he hadn't been in the ring realistically for years and years, it just doesn't buy it. But clearly this is leading to match 3, which will probably take place at WrestleMania. I think you can put your money on it now. I'm pretty sure Lesnar is probably going to get the decisive victory when they have their match at WrestleMania already.
I would perfectly agree with you, actually, because it seems that the groundwork has been put in on Monday Night Raw this past week. Of course, Paul Heyman making it quite clear when he said that Lesnar took him lightly. We weren't prepared for what happened. And of course, I mean, he did say that first spear was meant to have broken Lesnar's ribs, and that Lesnar was embarrassed, and that he will be looking for revenge. And if Goldberg's in the Rumble, then so is Lesnar. So clearly, they are trying to kind of keep them away from that next sort of step. And I agree with you. It's probably going to be at WrestleMania 33, and I agree with you as well. Lesnar probably is going to get the victory the next time, because now Lesnar, according to Heyman, has something to prove. I mean, do you buy all that what Heyman put in that promo, or do you think that it's not made you too excited going forward?
Any promo from Paul Heyman excites me. Paul Heyman's a fantastic promo giver, if that makes sense. I think clearly he does a really good job of building up a big fight. I think the only thing I have concern with this is the fact it's pretty predictable where we're going, really, if that makes sense. So obviously, clearly, you want to be surprised sometimes. I really believe that clearly Goldberg and Lesnar in the Royal Rumble, speculating ahead now, they're clearly probably just going to take each other out. They're clearly going to work an angle now just to be able to sort of build to the WrestleMania match. It'd be interesting to see what they can do, but the problem is, how does Brock Lesnar gain some momentum now? He's clearly been beaten twice now, clearly, by Goldberg.
Well, I mean, of course, yeah, but the first one was, in 2004? Would that be WrestleMania 20? Yeah. So, I mean, that is a long time, and Lesnar, like you say, has come a long way since, beating the likes of The Undertaker's undefeated streak, of course. I mean, the things you said about the surprise element, but technically we've already had one surprise element. Do we need that other one?
Maybe not necessarily. I'd quite like to see both of them two in a Hell in a Cell match, personally. I think that would be something different. I think the spectacle of a Hell in a Cell, particularly if it's delivered well, using the implements of a Hell in a Cell, I think that could be a fantastic match, particularly between them two.
It certainly does fit, actually, to sort of bigger athletes. Of course, when we get the lighter athletes, of course, they do their flips and their tricks and can put them on top of the cell. So I'm not saying that the athletes that are perhaps more agile are not suited for that match. But what I would say is it is good for those kind of bigger athletes because, of course, it's seen as more brutal. So I kind of agree with you that maybe having a cell match would be a great way to go to maybe close that chapter. But because it's not the rubber match, Lesnar would just clearly get the one back, wouldn't he? He would never actually still win the series. So Goldberg would always win the series. But elsewhere then in the programming in WWE,
I personally think as well.
How do you feel?
What in terms of the program? I think it's fantastic that they're building up the Cruiserweight division with their brand new TV show. I think that's fantastic. Their brand new TV show, WWE 2005 Live. I think that's a really good advocate to try and show wrestlers that probably won't get any main time on the main roster. Clearly, that's the aftermath of the Cruiserweight Classic. There are some fantastic talents. What I'm intrigued to see is whether them talents can then make it on the main roster, so to speak. Whether they can get that time on Raw or SmackDown. And it's kind of weird seeing Brian Kenrick back in wrestling, but sort of so late because he's been there. It's almost like he's never gone away, isn't it?
Well, really, he's kind of made himself better than ever. I mean, It seems right now that, you look at Brian Kendrick on TV and, particularly on Raw this week with Saxton, the way he was, on commentary, it almost made you kind of intrigued to see a match between him and Brian Saxton. He's really got that element of where you're intrigued and captivated by his character, how he's so desperate and how he's itching and clawing away to survive and keep that Cruiserweight Championship. And it's not about being the best, it's being the most clever in his book. And he so far has outsmarted everybody. And it's been clearly a clear angle and a good way going forward. And I do kind of feel that with storytelling, I personally feel that they're getting a bit better with it. I must admit, although I kind of feel in places, I'm still disappointed with Raw and SmackDown at times. I do think in recent weeks there's been the odd show here or there where I really enjoyed, but then the odd one that I really haven't enjoyed. But I do look at the longevity of storylines and do feel that it is slightly improving. We take the Cruiserweights and say, for example, like we say Brian Kendrick there, but we look at other stars. I mean, Rich Swann is certainly getting over a little bit. He had beaten Brian Kendrick twice, and then he got himself to 205 last night, and then got himself a championship match. So there was kind of a little bit of build, but maybe that's a basic build. I'm not quite sure how you would look at that.
I think certainly it's great that they're building up these storylines. I think clearly I have seen the 2005 show, based on that show, I think the wrestler that came out with the most credit, but who seemed to be most over as well, even for the initial start of it, Cedric Alexander, I think WWE have really got some massive plans for him, but it's great just to see WWE give that time to the Cruiserweights. Clearly, it reminds me a bit of it's almost like them targeting sort of Lucha Underground or sort of other wrestlers that use smaller wrestlers, but it's great really just to have that opportunity. I just hope really that sort of, it's almost the only other thing I would say on a counter of a negative, it's another hour of programming to watch when WWE have clearly got so much programming at the moment, it's very hard to keep up.
Well, they have counteracted it in one way because WWE Superstars is cancelled. So It looks like that we're not going to get that part of the show anymore that you could see on the WWE Network. Instead, the cruiserweights have taken that spot instead. But of course, it feels like that show is a more important show. But the problem is, though, I mean, I haven't had the opportunity to see 205 yet, George. I have to be brutally honest. I didn't get the opportunity to see it as it was happening as much as I wanted to. But I have heard that apparently quite a lot of the crowd left. Now, is that true?
Yeah, there wasn't really a massive crowd reaction throughout the show. Clearly, it's when you're doing a show straight after SmackDown, I think it's an overkill. It's a shame, really, it's not filmed totally as a separate show in a separate arena, if that makes sense. The good thing about the show, on a positive though, was they did a good job of identifying the roster they've got. In terms of, they did a real good time of identifying most of the wrestlers. Most of the wrestlers have got some sort of time on the show, which was a fantastic positive.
Well, that does sound really good. I look forward to checking it out myself. But the only thing I would say there, where you said about a different arena, do you think actually benefiting going forward then, if people were to continue to leave, say that they did this for 2 or 3 more weeks and half of the SmackDown crowd left and weren't interested in the cruiserweights, would it make sense to make it the pre-show before SmackDown? So that was the hour before SmackDown recorded, so then they could just put it on later. Or would it make it more sense to have it in the NXT environment, where it's like in Florida instead, in the sort of smaller arena, like the way the Cruiserweight Classic was filmed originally?
I think looking at this, though, let's look at it 2 ways. So logistically, from the first point, the issue you'll have if it's before SmackDown, although it's a great idea, is the fact the crowd could potentially be burnt out for the main product, which clearly SmackDown's live on TV. That's where you're going to get your main reaction. Clearly, this is only a network special show, 2005. It's not on any other channel. It's not unique, if that makes sense. It's only unique to the network. In terms of that, I do think that to have a show sort of at the NXT arena will be a place to go, really, because people go there. They're not going there to see the main roster. They are going there to see up-and-comers, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, certainly a good point and certainly a good argument. And I guess time will tell to see how that will be going forward with regards to the cruiserweights. How do you feel with the women's division? I mean, that seems to really have its high points, if we're being brutally honest. But of course, maybe some people could argue that it has its lows as well. But we're going to get another gimmick match at the TLC event. We've got a tables match this time instead of a Hell in a Cell. But Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss. How do you feel that that's going to go?
I personally think that's going to be a really good match. Becky Lynch is a fantastic worker. I personally think, if I'm going for predictions, I think Becky Lynch will come over. I don't think Alexa Bliss is ready to win the belt, so I think Becky Lynch has probably got this one. But it's great to see the women get that time on pay-per-view, so to speak. And if you look at the main event on Raw this week with Ric Flair in present, I thought it was a fantastic match.
It really was. I really enjoyed Sasha Banks and Charlotte. I did think to myself, I'm starting to feel a little bit bored, a little bit overkill. I mean, that was the one thing I had a bit of a problem with Raw this week, is that I think I'd seen every segment at least once before. It didn't seem like there was no matches that were new and exciting. But I guess that's maybe the struggle you have when you split half of your roster to one show and then the other half are on the other show. It's going to happen. You're going to see the same matches over and over. But at the same time, I look at it and I think to myself, well, this actual main event was a Falls Count Anywhere. It was another gimmick match. And for the second show of a week, it kind of had that sort of no DQ kind of main event on Raw. Is Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, is the WWE in general starting to come away from the PG product?
I would like to see it, but I'm not too sure. I think the ultimate problem is you've got sponsors that are sort of insisting WWE put out a PG product. So I really don't see WWE losing them sponsors as much as I would like to see a more risque product, a more sort of gripping product. I don't see it really. I think it's just WWE in certain matches sort of giving a bit more sort of excitement, so to speak.
They're also doing it perhaps with backstage parts as well. I mean, remember with the Sheamus and Cesaro in the bar fight, we see almost APA-esque from the Attitude Era. We also saw on SmackDown this week as well with AJ Styles and James Ellsworth. That Styles clash from the stairs to outside on the floor looked absolutely brutal. Do you think that maybe there are hints of it? We even saw the parking lot attack with Seth Rollins and Chris Jericho. That was almost Austin-like back in the Attitude Era as well. Are they giving glimpses of Attitude Era, or like you say, it's just a softened down PG version of it?
I think it's a soft down PG version, although there are some fantastic moments, such as the Styles clash off the stairs to Ellsworth and stuff like that. I just think they're so few and far between. Clearly, you can tell by sort of the way that the storylines, the in-ring action, although there are certain risky segments, you're not getting sort of spots as such. You're not really getting regular people getting put through tables, people jump off ladders. You're not getting really sort of people getting hit on the head with chairs. It's just very, very limited at the moment. But it's just a different style. But WWE have got one of the best rosters they've had in years. I've got to give them that in terms of talent.
They certainly have, and I think that's a good point you make there, George, because now we're heading towards close to that show WrestleMania, and WrestleMania, renowned in the last few years, has been about people about the past. We see Triple H come back. We've seen Sting make his debut, an older guy. We've seen The Undertaker comes back for this show and seemingly going to be coming back again. Are we going to see the same old people at the top of that card? Are we going to see The Rock involved somewhere towards the top of the card in a management role? Or are WWE finally going to pass the torch and have that opportunity where they seem to be trying to build new stars? We've got Kevin Owens as the Universal Champion. Dean Ambrose has been the WWE World Champion this year. AJ Styles is the current champion. Are we going to see these guys actually towards the main event? Are WWE going to actually give new blood into going forward in the product like they should do?
I think it's going to be an amalgamation between both the old and the new. I think looking at this, I put my head on the line now. I put a prediction now. I personally think you're looking at Roman Reigns being in the world title pit match for WrestleMania already. I think that's a cert. And I think you're also looking at potentially, if they do this, you are looking at maybe sort of an Undertaker John Cena match as well at WrestleMania as one of the main matches, which will be intriguing. Don't get me wrong, but there are talks that Undertaker and AJ Styles might have a match at Royal Rumble. Would you like to see Undertaker sort of with a title, sort of against John Cena? Is that something that would excite you, or would you like to see Undertaker get someone newer such as Braun Strowman or someone else up and coming?
I must admit, with regards to The Undertaker, this is it. I think this is the last sort of time to WrestleMania, and this is why seemingly he's back. He's not just back for WrestleMania, he's back. I think we're going to get 3 matches out of The Undertaker, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that the first one will be AJ Styles at the Royal Rumble, which I think he should go over. Now, I would normally massively disagree with this. I think that the younger guys should go over, but AJ Styles is not a young guy, but he is someone that could carry the company forward. But the reason I suggest this is because of the fact that we then expect Randy Orton potentially to be the next opponent. That's the expected perhaps could happen. There was rumours of a Taker Orton match happening before he retires. And the last one could be John Cena at WrestleMania. The reason I think that actually this works is because WWE are going to perhaps want that one marquee match. I think if the rest of the card is putting the new guys over, then maybe the top of the card should be The Undertaker, John Cena, because Cena's chasing that 16th world title. The Undertaker is going as champion. It could be his last WrestleMania. Would he retire as the champion, or would he give Cena that 16th world title reign? It would be very intriguing to see, and I think a lot of people could put a lot of hate on it, but I think a lot of people at the same time would turn around and say, I've got to see that. And for me, I think that would make a perfect main event for WrestleMania. If the rest of the card then elsewhere works out the way that I think maybe it will, at the moment, if I had to predict, I think we're going to get Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. Whether that's for the Universal title, we'll have to wait and see. I'm expecting that we're obviously going to get Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. It'd be interesting to see whether people fit in, but I think currently the way we're going as well, I think Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt will be facing a WrestleMania, because the way that storyline is working out, I was very negative with it on SmackDown at the start, but I'm starting to really warm into it because I feel I can see the future. We can see that Randy Orton is almost taking Luke Harper's place as Bray Wyatt's guy. And this then could lead to Luke Harper being taken out of the Wyatt family. And if that happens, then we get a little rivalry there. And then as soon as Bray Wyatt is left on his own, that's when the Viper will strike, because you can never trust the Viper. And that's when we might get our Road to WrestleMania match between them two. And I think if we have those 4 matches in and we get some other good matches in there, I mean, we could even get into promotional matches. What about Roman Reigns and AJ Styles again at WrestleMania? AJ Styles would be a lot more higher up the card than what it was when he took on. Of course, that was the main event of those matches, those cards last year, which was Extreme Rules, if I'm not mistaken, was the first one or the second one. But I mean, you look at it and say that if they had a match now, AJ Styles has been the champion, so it kind of could have a good flavour about it. I don't know what you think about it.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. All the matches I'd quite like to see, apart from the AJ Styles Roman Reigns. I think if you're going to give him something like a ladder or something, it could be interesting. But no, I'm just intrigued. Hopefully, WWE's booking for WrestleMania will be strong. And obviously, WrestleMania season is always the best time to watch WWE. So I'm very intrigued to see what they're going to do with the Rumble this year. Though at the moment, I haven't really got an idea of which way it's going to go. Really, now the fact they've said Goldberg and Lesnar are both in the match, I think that sort of rules both of them out clearly.
I think it rules both of them out as well. I have seen a couple of rumours. Well, of course, they're hearsay, so I will say the names because it may not happen. It could be John Cena, who then could be challenging The Undertaker, who is already the champion. Or it could be Chris Jericho, who then could start the feud off with Kevin Owens. Those were the 2 main rumoured names. It would be nice to have a surprise element for me. But at the same time, I've also seen Roman Reigns' name linked with the Royal Rumble, but then I've also seen him linked with Braun Strowman at WrestleMania, which I don't know about you. I mean, you said you weren't a fan of the Reigns AJ Styles idea, but what about Reigns and Braun Strowman?
Yeah, okay. I think we should move on slightly before that one, but no, that wouldn't be very good. Although Braun Strowman has slightly improved, he's still not ready for that type of match, if that makes sense, on the card. I think I think that would be a really bad move. I think obviously what you're probably going to get from Braun Strowman in the Rumble is mass eliminations, him eliminating a lot of people. But no, I'm very intrigued. I'd like to see a shock winner, but I'm not so sure. I think it was somebody sort of quite obvious, really, when the time comes.
We'll have to wait and see as it's going to play out. And just the same with Strowman, I'm going to say what I think he should be doing at WrestleMania. Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I think that's his place this year. And I think he should win it as well. And if anyone else wants to know about James Ellsworth, I think he should be in that match as well. And I think that he should kind of almost not hide like The Miz would normally do, but kind of get himself where he's in the final four. He's just avoided all confrontation. People remember he's there. A lot of people shout for Ellsworth. And then as soon as people shout for Ellsworth, Strowman sees him and immediately throws him over. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think I'd quite like that. I think Ellsworth clearly has done such a good job that he's actually now got signed. So I think credit. It'll be good. It'll be the ultimate underdog story. It's almost like the 1-2-3 kid in 2016. I can't believe I'm saying that.
I know. And personally, I've got to say, I'm not a massive fan of Ellsworth, but at the same time, I do respect that he's got from nowhere to everywhere, and you can't take that away from him because he's made the most of an opportunity given to him. So, give full credit to James Ellsworth for that. Elsewhere in WWE, is there anything more that you'd like to talk about, George, while we're here?
Yeah, there's been a big announcement in the last few hours. WWE are actually bringing back a fantastic pay-per-view for next year. They've announced officially they're going to bring back the Elimination Chamber. I don't know what you think about that, Steve, but I'm really excited. That's one of my favourite pay-per-views. It was in the past.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I heard the rumour. The rumour has been put on our channel before, but of course here it is announced officially. That's good news. Has it been announced yet? Because the one thing I was unsure of was if it was going to be Raw or SmackDown. The idea at the time when I saw the original rumours that it was going to be for SmackDown. Is there any indication on this?
It hasn't been confirmed what brand. The way that it has been announced is basically the arena that's supposed to host the event. On their official Twitter page, it's basically said an icon with the Elimination Chamber. So it's as good as done. Unfortunately, we don't have a date yet. So hopefully, maybe it'll be in that place of February where it used to be, instead of having that stupid robot pay-per-view that they're once again going to have sort of late this month.
From what I'm aware of, I believe there's going to be both those pay-per-views, so I believe that we're going to get Fastlane still there, unfortunately, next year. I personally prefer No Way Out. I'm just going to throw that out there, but it doesn't seem it's going to happen there. But just, I've got to be brutally honest there, mate. You were breaking up a little bit. Are you sure Dead Man's Hand are not trying to interrupt another podcast?
Yeah, I can assure you that. We're not aware of them, as far as I can tell. We're not aware that they should be here. Clearly, with them, they did interrupt last time. I can only hope that they don't interrupt again. Clearly, if they do interrupt again, we could be in trouble, Steve. Sorry, Steve. Something's going on, Steve. Sorry about this.
It is happening again, and I've got to say very quickly, I'm going to just quickly take over the reins for a second, George, if you don't mind. Is that actually, I did see something in the comment section when we did have that interruption. I suggested that maybe we're part of it. Now, I've got to be brutally honest with you, George. I like to think myself I'm in good shape. I have at least quite a few donuts a day, but I am not a part of Dead Man's Hand, and I can confirm to you that George is not either. So, guys, I've got to say we are not part of that. We are in full. We're with LEP, and we want these guys to triumph with what happens with Dead Man's Hand at the end, because I'm intrigued to find out how it is, but I don't want to see people take out the top stars. I want to see these shows go through the way they should be. I want to see Mad Dog get his revenge. I don't know about you, George.
We were watching, observing, and judging.
I think we've lost him. I'm not going to lie. I think we lost him. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do then, we'll quickly just give you a little bit just to say thank you very much for everyone that has been listening. To make sure to go then to the Facebook page for us, which is SCW, the Wrestling Podcast. As well as that, if you're on right now at youtube.com, what you've got to do is just hit that subscribe button right now. Hit the like button if you like it. Hell, hit the down if you don't like it. But please tell me why in the comments below, and let us know why you like it in the comments below as well, and what maybe you want us to talk about in future times on this podcast, because we are there for you, the people. We want to give you what you want to listen to. As well as that, LEP as well, go to their Facebook page right now. Just go to the top of the search engine, type in LEP Promotions Wrestling. Now, George, are you still there? I mean, let's see quickly one more time. George, are you there?
Yeah, I don't really know what's happened. My equipment, for some reason or other, we were interrupted once again by another message. I really, clearly we've heard this message before. It's getting really, really weird again.
I tell you what, Dead Man's Hand, if you're out there and if you are involved with this in any way, shape or form, I tell you, we're going to have to talk to our boy, Mad Dog. He's going to have to go and sort them out for us. He really is. But before we close the podcast, just tell one more time about the Wrestling Academy if people are interested in learning how to be a professional wrestler via LEP.
Yeah, so the LEP Wrestling Academy is based in Torquay, Devon, and training starts from £30 for a monthly membership. Private one-to-ones are £20 an hour. The sessions run on Tuesday for adults, 6 to 9 p.m. Wednesday is kids, 6:30 to 8:30. Thursday, adults, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. For more information, please go to the website at www.lepwrestling.co.uk/training.
Fantastic stuff, indeed. Fantastic. Well, I'll tell you what, hopefully a lot of people will be professional wrestlers and they can actually be our future of the business. I'll tell you what, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it, to get new stars, and certainly in a scene right now like the United Kingdom where definitely pro wrestling is definitely on the up. But I'll tell you what's also on the up. We're on the up now, off and out of the studio for this particular episode. Thank you very much for listening. We've really enjoyed having you on board. And don't forget as well to subscribe if you haven't already. You've been listening to SCW, the Wrestling Podcast. This has been episode 37. You listen to us on youtube.com for SCW, the Wrestling channel. Hit the subscribe button. Take care. Thank you for George and thank you for me. We will see you next time.